Knicks fans, what's the word? Listen, man, I know what y'all thinking about. I know what y'all thinking. Where's Triple M and where's Don Juan? Listen, first and foremost, I just want to, first and foremost, we have to congratulate my boy Triple M. He had just had his second child this week, so unfortunately, my man right now he's on family duties right now, and Don Juan, he's definitely enjoying a much needed vacation with his family. So, shout out to them, but luckily right now it's only right. Right now you got your boy Zebo, um, holding it down for you, and it's honestly at the perfect time right now with Zant, with Julius Randle just going crazy right now, and obviously coming off one of the biggest wins of I know it's only 4 days into the year, but
Mhm.
literally with the biggest win of the year and of the season, and it's only right that we do have my man Omar. Definitely go ahead and follow him on Twitter. Like I told him before the show, love his stuff. I definitely love his articles at deepcoversports.com. So, and obviously this is like the second biggest Julius Randle fan I know. So, Omar, what's going on, man?
What's up, Zebo? It's really unfortunate not to have Don Juan and Triple M here to really be able to just fully express our excitement over the Julius Randle Renaissance.
I know,
But
right?
it's okay. It's all right. No,
And
but
it's
congratulations to Triple M first of all on his second
definitely,
child, and
definitely,
I'm glad that Don Juan's down in Orlando, man. He got to be there when the news of the Shaq jersey retirement was announced. So
exactly.
he's living life pretty good, and so, but yeah, always happy to fill in, and it's kind of like when the Knicks played the Pacers, really down a few guys, but hopefully we'll make this a little bit better than the outcome of that one for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll definitely go ahead and dive into that. But yeah, no, we'll have a good show. I mean, like I said, I feel like right now it's crazy how right now it's a perfect circle because like I said, right now Julius Randle's on a tear. RJ Barrett is, we'll go ahead and talk more about the trade, but
Mhm.
RJ Barrett is gone. So it's and obviously, I think we've been one of the two biggest RJ Barrett kind of critics. So it's a little weird. Again, I did want to gloat a little bit because one of the biggest RJ fans isn't here right now, but that's all right.
Mhm.
We'll definitely talk to him more about it. But yeah, man, I mean, real quick before we do go ahead and get into the trades, get into the first two games with our brand new players from Toronto. I did want to ask you, Omar, because I mean, like I told you post game, I mean, I do love your articles, and every time we do have you here, I definitely do love your insight. So, and I know we haven't had you in a while. So, I mean, real quick, man, what's been, for you personally, what's been your assessment of the season? Like, how do you feel about Randall? How do you feel about Brunson? And obviously, this is, I'm talking about like pre OG at, OG
Pre-trade, yeah.
Anunoby. Like, yeah, like how do you feel about the team? Do you feel a little disappointed? Do you feel good about where we at? Like, how's it been
Mhm.
for you personally this season?
Obviously, starting the season the way Julius did was concerning, right?
Right.
In my mind, I was like, all right, he's recovering from the ankle surgery. Give him some time, and that turned out to be the correct assumption. Not to burn the world down because he had a few bad games. But Brunson's been incredible. I've been disappointed by Grimes' play, to be honest, which is
Yeah.
why DiVincenzo has surpassed him in the starting lineup.
Right.
But coming leading up to the trade, the loss of Mitchell Robinson was just so huge. And
It
I
was.
was saying this the other day, we don't really appreciate just how much he glosses over defensively for the rest of the team, right? Because people are so conscious of him in the lane, it just alters the way they play offense sometimes, right?
Right.
And I just really think that once he went down and now he's out for the year, so and as much as I like what Hartenstein's been able to do,
Right.
defensively, he's not quite Mitch, unless he's going against Rudy Gobert and he's blocking him 3 times. But
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
another situation. But yeah, so you lost that, and defensively, the team just started to dip, and that's why I truly believe that if they were on the fence about the trade, and we'll talk about it later, but if they're on the fence, they were really pushed there because Mitch went out and the defense just tanked, and Tom Thibodeau is not going to stand for a team with that doesn't play defense, right?
Right.
So, I feel like it was a little underwhelming. I thought the team would be in that 4 or 5 spot like they were last year, going into before the trade, they were hovering around play-in territory. And, you were hoping for a little bit better, but also understand it's a long season and deals are going to happen. Runs are going to be go on, whatever. And, but I think looking forward, we're in a pretty good spot now. Um, Obviously, you lose a couple big players, but you really also got to be encouraged by what you've seen from DiVincenzo. He's just been incredible, especially over these last like 10 to 15 games. And Randall
Right.
has come back into, I think, all NBA and all star form that he was
Yeah.
previously. So, and of course, Brunson's just been, the thing that makes the whole thing go.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I wouldn't say I'm worried or I was worried before the trade, but there was a little concern just about how are they going to make these adjustments defensively, and what does it look like long term, with Mitch being out.
Right. And also too, I think the biggest thing is you always get those one or two teams that are always like a big surprise. And
Mhm.
unfortunately for us, it's been Orlando and Indiana. So that's, it's a little disappointing because that's my I feel like when we did speak about, our assessment of this, of the season,
Mhm.
in mid-December, I was a little disappointed just because I thought after Boston and Milwaukee, I thought we would be that third team, but obviously, Joel Embiid playing the way he is, Tyrese Halliburton just emerging as a superstar, and
Right.
Orlando kind of, doing their thing, which it looks like they are coming down a little bit of earth. It does,
Mhm.
the fact that you are behind a little bit in those teams is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. Like I'm not, yeah, I feel the same way as you. Little, I'm concerned obviously, but
Mhm.
not to the point where I'm disappointed. So no, I definitely, I'm 100% there with you. And yeah, bro. I mean, you talked about it. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I mean,
Mhm.
we obviously had the big trade where, with Toronto, which I honestly was surprised, especially with the whole lawsuit and
Yeah.
everything going on. But it happened. We got OG Anunoby, got Precious Achua and Michael Flynn, and we lost our two homegrown guys. We lost R.J. Barrett,
Mhm.
Emmanuel Quickly, and a second round pick from Detroit, which it
Might as
looks
well
like
be a
it
late first. I
might
mean,
as well. Yeah, it's a 30. It's essentially going to be the 31st pick on
Mhm.
unless Detroit goes on a 20-game win streak, which it's more it's high it's more doubt it's honestly it's high it's more likely that they'll go on another 20-game losing streak.
Mhm.
It looks like it's going to be the 31st pick, so pretty good pick, I guess. But yeah, man. I mean, just Omar, let me just off the bat, man, what was your initial thoughts on the trade? When you first heard about it, and how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it 2 games in? So yeah, so what's your initial thoughts of it? What's your thoughts on OG Precious? And obviously, I know Michael Flynn hasn't played that much, but
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on those guys and your initial thoughts on the trade?
So I want to go out first of all and say anyone that is discounting the impact that Quickly and Barrett had into what this team is now is just not being honest, right?
Right,
This team isn't where they are now without RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. Just
right,
they were part of the foundation and they got us back into the second round of the playoffs. There is no debating that whatsoever. So it's kind of like a thank you for your service thing, but I think that has gone a little underspoken by a lot of Knicks fans, right? They're kind of like, oh, I'm so excited about OG, and then the other camp is like, oh, I can't believe we got rid of our young talent, right? And without really acknowledging how much quickly brought energy to the team. The big moments that RJ had, the shot against Boston, the dunk in the playoffs, those types of
right,
things. So that's all said. So when I saw it, I was surprised because one, I did not think that Toronto would trade with us because of the lawsuit, and because ultimately probably didn't want to get fleeced by Masai Ujiri again, which
right.
they have, a couple of times. So that surprised me. It also surprised me that they included both Quickly and Barrett. You would have thought it would have been one or the other with more on the draft pick side. But
Right.
then you start to think about it. Toronto, they're not a team that wants to tank. They've never been that way. They always want to draft well and remain competitive. And so Quickly and Barrett allow them to remain competitive. So I understand that. They didn't want Fred Van Vliet 2.0 to happen. So they wanted to get something for OG because it became very clear that he wasn't going to stay there long term. In terms of OG himself, I was kind of on the fence about acquiring him. And truthfully, I don't watch a ton of Raptors basketball. It's hard when you're on League Pass, man. You're trying to
Yeah,
catch everything. So, and I know he defensively, it's there. And when you really kind of look at it, you feel like, okay, this is probably a net improvement over RJ. And you start worrying about replacing quickly, which is still my concern. Um, because you're really adding a lot more pressure now onto Julius and Jalen Brunson to get buckets all the time. Yes, you've improved defensively, but Anunoby isn't really a shot creator in that aspect. He's
right,
excellent from the corner, got good verticality on offense for dunks and stuff like that. But you're not giving him the ball in isolation and letting him work, right? Like you do Brunson and Randall. So
right.
that was concerning to me in off the bench. But watching him the first couple of games, you start to think, oh, why didn't they trade for this guy sooner? Because he seems to be a hand in glove fit with what Thibodeau wants to do. And the game against Minnesota, like you alluded to, just the best win of the year, was a big point of that, right? Because he was switching off of Anthony Edwards to guard Karl Anthony Towns and
Right.
guarding them both pretty efficiently. And he's long, he could keep up with these guys, and just defensively, Thibodeau's going to have a field day using this guy. So I think ultimately they're looking at it as we're trying to win a championship, right? We need a third guy, whoever that may be. And I think they came to this realization that, you know what, maybe RJ isn't that guy. Maybe he's just a good NBA pro, but not necessarily a number 3 on a championship winning team, which is a phrase I hate using because people use it all the time. But
Right.
I think that's what they felt like. And they
Mhm.
also, when they weren't able to extend quickly in the offseason, and he was going to go into restricted free agency this coming offseason, it kind of became clear that the two sides were kind of far apart. So, in that case, you don't want to lose him for nothing. So, go
Right.
ahead and cash in and try and get Anunoby. The Achua acquisition, I think, is important because of the depth behind Julius.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's a 4 who could also play a little bit of 5. He hasn't gotten a ton of minutes yet, and if you talk to Raptors fans, they're a little mixed on him. Where the raw measurables are there, but the basketball IQ feels a little off.
Right.
And so you're hoping that they could coach him up a little bit to at least give you the 15 minutes to give Julius a rest, right? And if they can survive those minutes, I think they'll be in a good spot. That being said, you don't just replace Emmanuel quickly off the bench, right? You don't replace him with Miles McBride. And I love Deuce defensively, but offensively, he's not Emmanuel quickly. And
No.
that's going to be a challenge. And I think that's why they're probably going to have another move to acquire a player who could fit that role. But ultimately, I think the trade makes them better defensively, and maybe it's addition by subtraction offensively, Zebo, because I don't know about you, like there seem to always be some chemistry issues between Julius and RJ.
There.
I didn't
Yeah.
really, I didn't feel it with him and Quickly. Him and Quickly, I think, had decent chemistry. Him and Brunson have a good chemistry, and I think now he's looking like, okay, they took away this guy. I got to be the man, right? And we've
Hmm.
seen it these last 2 games.
No, you seen it.
35 plus, in each game,
Hmm.
and he's been a lot more aggressive, playing bully ball, doing the stuff that guys like you and I, who always say this guy is really good,
We've been
what we
preaching for
want to
him to do.
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've been preaching
exactly.
for him to go ahead and do that. Just go down low. Like, listen, anyone that you do take 1-on-1 in the post, they can't stop you.
Like they were putting Caruso on this guy yesterday, and I'm just like, don't get me wrong, Alex Caruso's a very good defensive guard, one of the best in the league probably.
Right.
But physicality wise, he's just not gonna match up with Julius Randle, and he was just showing that, and I look for him to continue to do that because now he has to, right? You can't rely on anybody else. It's you and Jalen. That's the offense, right? And
Exactly.
you're banking on Dante or Grimes or OG hitting threes, but the engine of this offense is you two guys. So I think that might have kind of maybe unlocked something with Julius. We'll have to see. It's only been 2 games, but I think there's more moves to come. But I like the direction that they're kind of going with the construction of this team.
Yeah. So as far as me, so my initial thought of the trade is when I first heard about it, I was obviously surprised
Yeah.
because obviously you want
Oh, you're muted, Zebo. There you go.
hearing now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
So yeah. So in regards to the trade, so yeah, I felt obviously I felt initially the same way you did. I was a bit surprised just because of the just the surprise factor, the fact that we didn't make any
Hmm.
moves with Toronto. And their asking price, if you think about it, last year they were asking for 3 first-round picks, which
Yes.
when I heard that, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, as far as OG, I felt the same way you did. I'll be honest, I don't watch Raptors games. Like,
Hmm.
from what I've heard about Obi, I'll bring it back to 2019 when they won the championship.
Hmm.
He wasn't technically really part. He wasn't really part of that. He was on the team, but he was injured.
Yes.
And one of the things that did concern me was obviously everyone kind of knew that Kawhi was inevitably going to go to LA.
Hmm.
But one of the things that made Toronto comfortable with the move is the fact that they did have OG and they were. It seemed like everyone was. It seemed like everyone was hyping him up to the point where everyone thought like, hold on, we might have our Kawhi Leonard, and
Hmm.
kind of looking at his career, obviously he's great defensively. He was great defensively. He was part of that Toronto team that did go ahead and make the playoffs a few times, even during the bubble, and he did have his impact. But again, it was the leaders on the team was still Fred VanVleet and Siakam. So
Hmm.
it never kind of panned out that way. So I'm like, wait a minute, this first of all, he's not even. I don't even think he's the best player on this team, and we're again that's the asking price, and so obviously that I was like, wait a minute, no, he seems just way too overvalued.
I mean, that felt
But
like
then,
Gobert syndrome, right, Zebo? Like,
yeah, that's
yeah,
what
after the
I
Gobert
mean.
trade
And
happened, everything was out of whack, you know?
yeah, man, and Knicks fans, I mean, when it comes to trades, man, we just have this
Yeah.
PTSD where it's just, man, if we just obviously with this administration is a little different when it comes to trades. Like
Hmm.
they are very calculated when it comes to their moves. But if you're a diehard Knicks fan, you have PTSD when it comes to these big trades. So,
Sure.
I just, obviously I was a little bit concerned, but thinking about it now in hindsight, it was the move that needed to be made. I mean, RJ Barrett just to obviously, I've been super critical of him. Triple M has been a person that's been to bat with this guy, and I get it. He was the third round pick. Um, I'm not gonna go ahead and bash him because there's people out there that says, "Oh no, we just the Knicks, this was a great trade because the Knicks got rid
So
of a toxic player."
to be fair, well, hold on. They called it a toxic asset, right? And I think that's a
I
contract
don't. That's
comment. Yeah, it's a dumb
yeah.
quote. It's a dumb quote, but
I don't like that.
um,
I don't like that at all. He's not again. He's
you,
not a scrub. Like let's
yeah,
not. Let's not.
you can make
Let's
the
not.
argument that the Knicks mismanaged him by playing him as small forward. You
Right.
know, where in college he was a shooting guard, and in
Right.
Toronto he's playing alongside quickly in the backcourt.
Exactly.
So you can make that argument that maybe they just had to move on from him because they never really were able to get a proper small forward to play alongside of him.
Right.
And maybe now he'll be unlocked in Toronto. But yeah, anybody who's saying RJ Barrett was a scrub doesn't really understand or
Doesn't
probably doesn't
know.
watch a lot, and
Does
I
it does
just
no? It's
yeah,
it's just it's a Stephen A. I call it a Stephen A. syndrome where they
yeah,
just
yeah, for
it's
sure.
I call it or I start I'm actually gonna call him now Stephen A. Spark Notes because he's just he's literally he's just he's a fan whenever we're on national TV, that's when he's actually watching the games. And so
Yeah.
that's what I feel about people that critique him, that we know where that they critique RJ to that low point. I don't think he's that. I've always thought he was a solid player. Again, does he have his deficient? Is he a bit of is he inconsistent? Yes. Do I
Mhm.
think that he can elevate defensively? I always thought that. I'm like, listen, if you're gonna be inconsistent offensively, you have the size, you have the instinct. You can be a A minus defender I think
Mhm.
if you really put your mind to it, that guy can be an A minus defender. But it just never happened for us, and I do hope that in Toronto he's able to unlock that. But you're absolutely right. I'll be honest. When it comes to the trade, my biggest concern was Quickly because to
Mhm.
me, Quickly has the potential where I can see him being Tyrese Maxey. I'll be honest. Like
Mm.
I see
Yeah.
I'm I like again, he was a runner up for sixth man of the year, and it's unfortunate because we have Jalen Brunson who's going to be an All Star. But I'm pretty sure if Jalen Brunson wasn't here, we would have just we would have given him the keys, no problem. So it's just unfortunate of the situation that we do have Jalen Brunson. But no, I think quickly will be at worst Jamal Crawford, which is a very which is a great career to be honest with you. Like a
Yeah,
guy that can bring it a guy that can bring it offensively. He's super quick. He does really good things with the ball, and again, he will explode for those games. I mean, he had games for us again that national TV game against Boston where he just
went crazy.
exploded, and so yeah, so that was my biggest concern is yes, like we us losing quickly. That's essentially our bench. And obviously that second round pick, again, it will be valuable because it's the 31st. But again, it's a second round pick, so I don't want to put too much. I don't want to put too much emphasis on that. But no, you're absolutely right. Losing those guys is definitely tough. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to OG, just seeing him these first two games,
Mhm.
I see it. I see the hype.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. Like he plays like he's 6'8" with a wingspan of 7'2". He
Mhm.
plays like it. Like he literally
Yeah,
plays like
absolutely.
it. And I don't know if you heard the quotes of what he told Jalen Brunson when he initially like got in the game. He was like, "Listen, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll just go ahead and cut." And yeah, I'll just go ahead and cut. And he was like, "Oh, okay." So he's a guy that doesn't necessarily like you could like this guy makes an impact without him having the ball in his hands. And
Hmm.
so
Which is what
and
they
he's
need, right? Got
yeah,
two ball
exactly.
dominant guys.
Exactly. And so he's really good off those corner threes and just defensively, man. Like I know Anthony Edwards, he had his game, but man, he literally guards like he guards literally 1 through 5. Um and there's not a lot of guys in the league. I think there's only like probably like 5 or 6 guys in the league that can do that. So he can guard 1 through 5. His impact on defense, you could definitely feel it.
Mhm.
And offensively, like I said, he's a guy that doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands. And also, one thing I didn't notice is how explosive he is. Like when he goes up to the
Mhm.
rim,
The
he goes up to the
verticality is
rim like a
impressive.
center. I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, he literally goes up like a center. Like he
Hmm.
explodes to the rim. I'm like, okay, no, I'm like, no, he's it. Like I get it. Like we can like in a game against Boston, yeah, we could throw Tatum on him. Like go
Hmm.
ahead, take him 1-on-1. Like if we face Milwaukee, go ahead 1-on-1 against Giannis. Yeah, I feel comfortable with having him on Giannis 1-on-1. And so I definitely see the hype. Like I see why people speak so highly of him. I definitely think a great pickup for us. And also too, man, the other thing that did intrigue me, and I've always been a fan of him just because he's Nigerian, but he is from the Bronx. Precious Achiuwa is a good player.
Hmm.
He's solid. Like he was on that Miami team, that on that bubble team. He was on that bubble team in the finals, and he's made it. Like even though yes, basketball IQ wise, it definitely needs progress. He's a high motor guy. Like he's a guy that will definitely bring effort. And it's something that you brought up that I think it's very key is that with something that we've had a concern before the season is
Hmm.
who's gonna take those who's gonna take those Obi minutes. And I think that
Yeah.
this is literally the perfect guy to go ahead and take a little bit off from Randall. And so the
More than
first
anything, though, Zebo, these guys are bringing this identity back to this
right,
team, which is
exactly.
we're gonna out physical, out tough you.
Hmm.
I mean, they gave Miles McBride a 3-year extension. Whether
Yeah,
that's a future trade piece aspect or not, this is a guy who can defend in the backcourt. Achua can defend. Josh
he's
Hart
giving
can
us good
defend.
minutes, great
Yeah,
minutes. No, no,
all
I
these
agree.
guys can defend in one way or another, and so I
Exactly.
think they're
And
just
it
kind
gives
of
you that
leaning into it.
versatility as well. No, yeah, yeah, and it gives you that versatility. Now, again, we'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and we'll talk more about it. But yeah, I mean, my main concern is going to be the bench because if you did notice
Yes.
during that Chicago game, obviously the first half was pretty bad for us.
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
was pretty bad, and even early in that fourth quarter when we did have the bench, it seemed like we were kind of letting we had to bring our starters in earlier than usual, and so that did put more more of a heavy load on the minutes on the starters than
Hmm.
usual, and so that definitely is a concern moving forward for me. But
I mean,
yeah,
who do
no,
you
that's it.
think they should go after? Because obviously they need some sort of scoring guard off the bench, right?
So
It's
yeah,
been something I've been thinking about for ever since the trade happened because
me
I'm
too.
convinced they're not done and they're going to try to acquire somebody via trade or even buyout market after the deadline
Me
to
too.
really get that spark off the bench as a lead guard who can score.
Yeah, me too. No, I've been thinking about it too. One person that's really been on my mind a lot is Jordan Clarkson. Just because
I've
I
been
think
thinking about that.
Utah,
Yep.
yeah, because Jordan Clarkson, the Utah Jazz, they have so many like valuable guys, and I think they
Hmm.
want to. I think their approach is to give more, give more minutes to the younger guys. And again, Jordan Clarkson kind of brings that, he brings the same type of, I think, offensive. I mean, obviously, I don't think I think Quickly's a little better offensively than Jordan Clarkson, I think, at this point, but
He can
he still
explode for points. I
he can
mean,
exactly.
well, he dropped like 36 yesterday, I think, in
I
that
think he did, right? Yeah.
overtime game against Detroit. Yeah, which
Yeah.
was
So no,
a wild game.
yeah, it
But
was.
I've
Yeah,
actually been thinking
our
about.
boy Alex Burks, our
He
boy Alex
was.
Burks brought it to
Listen,
overtime.
I tweeted something about that. I always used to joke when he was on the Knicks that it's like somebody put him in the machine and they put on the superstar setting, right? But
Yeah,
they pulled the plug about 50% of the way through. So every now and
exactly.
then, Alec Burks looks like Kobe, and but then
Literally,
like the next 9 games, he's just an average role player. It's just fascinating. He's just a wild player to watch night in night
he
out.
is.
But you mentioned the Utah guard. Another Utah guard I thought about as well was Colin Sexton. He's a
Mm,
guy who's come off the bench for them as well, and
yeah,
he's a guy who can create. And if you look at the contract, it's pretty close in number to Fournier's number.
it is.
So, if they wanted to make a one-for-one deal, maybe throw in a pick or two there to make that happen, I wouldn't be surprised with that. Malcolm Brogdon's been mentioned as well.
I like that one.
Um,
I've been
yeah,
mentioning that too. The injury's a little concerning to me, but he
mhm.
was six man of the. He's actually the guy that
They
took the
actually won
award
the
away
award.
from
Yeah.
Quickly. Yeah, he actually took the away award from Quickly. So that's another guy. I do like what he brings. He's a smart. He's a really. I mean, he's a really smart player.
Hmm.
He actually reminds me like he's a Tibbs actually type of guy that
Yeah.
so him and the other person I was kind of thinking about, and maybe this is kind of like a kind of a long shot just because LaMelo Ball is injured, but Tay Rozier was kind of another guy I was kind of thinking
Hmm.
about, just because I think number wise it works. If you include Fournier, you might have to include another player, but that's a guy that can explode offensively at literally at any game, and that's a good, again, he's a guy that has taken a bench role again with Boston, kind of took that role, and he did actually very well in it. So that's another guy I was thinking about. So, yeah, no,
There are
those are
guys
the
out there. They got to make a move. Is the point, though?
right. I
That's
think
the
so too.
big thing. Yeah,
No,
because
I agree
right now
100%. Cause
it's impossible to survive these bench minutes long term. And you're talking
yeah,
about Julius and Jalen. You got to run them into the ground before the postseason. So you got to get you got to get some pieces here, or one piece that can just fill in some of that explosiveness that quickly
right.
gave you, so that those first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, you could give the keys to this guy and say, all right, let him do his thing, get some buckets, whatever, and then we'll close it out with our big dogs at the end. And
Right, because
that's the key.
no, I agree 100% because I think Jalen Brunson played around 38, 40
Hmm.
minutes, which for Randall I don't mind because he's a guy that's he's a guy like honestly I trust him playing that many minutes, but
Hmm.
for a guy like Jalen Brunson for a small guard, I always get worried. That's always been
Worried.
my worry about Jalen Brunson is
Mm.
the more miles you kind of put on him, especially a small guard. He takes a lot of hits too. Because he's not the most athletic guy, he is crafty, but it's a lot of manipulating, bumping and just falling everywhere, and so that's always been my concern. So yeah, we definitely do need someone that is reliable to kind of take a little bit the load off Jalen Brunson for sure. Because
Mhm.
or else Tibbs will kind of go back to his old ways of let me just go ahead and just run you to the ground because that's the only choice we have. So
Yeah, yeah, and that's really an interesting piece. Obviously, a lot of people are suggesting that maybe a bigger move is coming. Is this the precursor to the Donovan Mitchell deal that everybody's been waiting for? And I could see like tinfoil hat version of me. I could kind of see it, but also I think they really are content with this. I think honestly, Miami's success last year has given them hope. They look at it like,
it gives me hope.
hey, yeah, we got these two guys. These are our Jimmy and Bam, right? And We
Right.
got a bunch of these nice role players around them, and we can ride these guys with some good defense, good coaching, timely shot making, all the way, maybe to a conference final or something. And I think they believe in it, for right now. Obviously
Right.
with the Knicks, things are always fluid. They're always going to try and get involved in something or another. But I kind of wonder, like, if Randall is able to unlock another level, how content do they remain?
That's.
With keeping everything kind of the way it is without going star hunting, because a lot of the big level guys are not going to be available for a long time.
I mean,
Embiid
they're
seems
not.
content. Giannis signed an extension. Anthony Edwards is not going anywhere. Shea is not going anywhere. They're going to lock those guys up for as long as they possibly can until they demand a trade. Why? I mean, you're going to try and get Kevin Durant. I mean, now that he's like unhappy in Houston, in Phoenix, excuse me.
Right.
Um, I just feel like at that point they're like, well, if our guys can achieve another level up, maybe why not us? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's always been my, like, with the trade happening. I know everyone's been putting an emphasis on the Knicks, and that's been literally the talking point. We need a star. We need a star. We need a star. And it's honestly been a little annoying because, again, where is he? Like, I get Donovan Mitchell, but again, this is another small guard that needs the ball in his hand, and
Mhm.
I just don't. I don't see the fit right now. Like, I get it, at any time he can. Again, he's had his 71. Like, this is an elite score, but does that really take us past Milwaukee, past Boston, past Denver? I just don't know. And so if we just, if I'm not 100% sure, why can't we just ride it out with the team we have now? I
Mhm.
honestly feel like, I listen. I get it. I get everyone. Julius is a very polarizing player, but at the same time, I think he deserves the opportunity, because now the one thing and maybe this is just me digging myself in a hole, just going to Twitter like, oh, we need to get Karl Anthony Towns now. Like, Julius Randle's the next piece that has to go, and I'm like, wait a minute, wait, you talking about the same Julius Randle that's been scoring 20 plus within the last, what, 20,
Mhm.
almost 15 games? Like, you want to let go of that guy, the guy that's been putting up, Giannis type numbers? Like,
Mhm.
this is the guy you want to let go? Like, come on.
The
I don't think.
irony of the cat thing is there was a sequence in the Minnesota game where Julius in the fourth quarter, when he went crazy, he's going down and hits a tough shot from the free throw line. Cat, the very next possession, gets a switch on Jalen, and it's a 1 foot height difference. And he like does this weird like side leaning fadeaway midi that just bricks. And then on the next possession, Julius scores again. And in that moment, I said out loud, I was like, "Oh, this is the guy you want to trade for Julius Randle, the guy
Exactly.
who just came up so small in a big moment versus the guy who came up big in two big moments, right?" And I think like I know a lot of people like Cat because of the local ties, the size and the shooting is appealing, but ultimately, I just don't feel like he moves the needle. Like, if you're getting a guy, you want a guy that's going to take you past the second round. You
Right.
have questions about that with Donovan Mitchell after the Knicks beat him in the first round pretty handily. You have questions about that with Karl Anthony Towns. He's never done it. So I think at that point, that's why people have always said Giannis, Embiid, these type of guys. But I don't know if those guys are leaving their markets anytime soon because they're dominating. They're putting up MVP type numbers in their respective markets, and it's tough to see them making a move, especially for in the Giannis case after they acquired
Right.
Lillard. That was done, right?
Right.
He's not leaving that situation with
And
a big
Embiid
time shot
right
maker.
now, and Embiid seems pretty happy right now. I mean, right? I mean, it seems
Was
like he's
maxing,
pretty
yeah.
happy with the team,
Mm.
and so I don't see that going on. So again, like, the people are just bringing up just these random players, and I'm just like, none of it to me just seems that enticing. Now, DeJounte Murray sounds a little enticing if Randall stays, but again, you just don't know, and so we'll see what happens. But no, I think the emphasis right now should be, let's get a bench scorer in there, and let's go ahead and ride it out with the starters we have now, because I think this is a good team we have now. Like, we just need one more
Mhm.
bench guy, and that can balance out the minutes, and I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be good.
Mhm.
So, man, listen, Omar. I'm gonna go ahead and let's go ahead and wrap it up. But, Omar, man, thank you, man. Like I said, Love having you. I love having your insight, man. He actually has a great article on Emmanuel Quickly, so definitely go ahead and check that out. But Omar, I'm gonna let you go ahead and have the floor, man. Go ahead and plug whatever you have to plug. But man, thank you so much for stopping by, man. I know, and again, you went ahead and stepped up for my guys that aren't here. I know they're gonna be back here next episode, but yeah, man, appreciate you doing this for sure.
Appreciate that, Zebo, and looking forward to seeing Triple M and Don Juan back to complete the trio. But
Yeah,
yeah, you can follow me on Twitter X at Omar ZHRN. You could catch me on Medium.com and also on DeepCoverSports.com. All of my articles, mostly NBA and NFL, on a bunch of podcasts for Off the Ball Network as well. So Nick Van Wilding just did an episode about the Knicks with on the For the Love of the Game podcast with Nick Andre. Make sure you check that out as well. So a lot of stuff cooking, always
sure.
making something. So definitely check all that out.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you. And like I keep saying, man, like, subscribe the page, man. Definitely go ahead and show love. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and head out. Appreciate y'all Knicks fans again. Honestly, we did a good show right now. I know a lot of people thought, oh man, Zebo's coming, man. He's about to spend 35 minutes just talking about Randall. But we spoke a lot. We spoke about a lot. We kept it at like 5 minutes on Randall. So
Yeah.
I
We did
think I
good.
think
We
we
did
did
good.
good.
Two Julius
Yeah.
Randle fans went unchecked, and it wasn't too bad.
Exactly.
So it
It
was good.
wasn't
Yeah.
too exactly. It wasn't too bad. So appreciate y'all, man. Have a good one. You already know, man.